this list, the current world number 2. Again, what a year it's been for world number 2, Iga Swiatek. Talk about the tale of two halves. And it's hilarious, DK, because I went and looked it up. I was like, well, how bad was it really? First half versus second half of the season. Second half, and I include that from her French Open semifinal onward, she goes 34-6. Obviously, she wins titles, Wimbledon, Cincinnati, Seoul. The Anisimova victory in that stretch just was a thorough righting of the ship. For what it's worth, she was 27-9 before that. So, like, top-level numbers, like, she was still racking up a ton of victories. It was just she was on the wrong end of the 3 sets versus Keys. She lost a couple of straight sets to Andreeva. Obviously, to lose to Goff on clay, shocking. To lose to Ayala at all, as she did in Miami, shocking losses. Like, things we just hadn't seen from her over the previous 3-4 seasons. And yet, Sabalenka, number 2 ranking, second and third in ELO rating, 61 total victories, most of any WTA player, 21 wins at the Slams, second most, 43-4 against the non-top 20 players. That's the third most wins, but the best win percentage. 18-11 against the top 20, second most wins. 8-6 against the top 10, third most wins. I mean, again, Wimbledon, Cincinnati, sold titles. She played 17 events this season, DK, 14 total quarterfinals. Finished 4th in hold percentage, second in break percentage. Why is that relevant? I'm glad you asked, David Kane. It's her 4th consecutive season. Shout out to my dear friend Patrick Ding. Sent me a chart. He called it the Gruskinian method. Players since 2010 to finish top 10 in both categories. 4th consecutive season, you can say that about Iga. Only other player with 4 straight or more, you might have heard of her, DK, player by the name of Serena Williams, who did that, I think, from 2010 all the way through like 2016. In a year that I think all of us would consider the worst of this version of Swiatek so far, she still walked away with the Wimbledon title. She's still world number 2. She flipped the Rybakina rivalry this year, 4-0 against someone she was 2-4 against before. She got an 0-0 victory in a major final. How do you grade the season, DK?
Yeah, I think if you double bagel someone to win a Wimbledon title, it's sort of an automatic A. And like it's almost an automatic A+. But again, like we talk about, Sabalenka having a year that in some points like belied the results. Like if you were to read Iga Swiatek's results through the first 4 or 5 months of the season, she was regularly making at least the quarters, mostly a lot of semis. But it was the way she was playing, it was the way she was losing these matches. And it was just like, it made it hard to talk about because on one hand, she's going deep at all these tournaments. And on the other hand, they're ending in such a uncharacteristic way for someone who we were used to seeing. Once she was making these semis and finals, she was winning them, and it just wasn't happening. And so obviously a huge mental, lift for her, probably, a relief in a way to have the clay court season behind her. She could start fresh. A tremendous, mental effort to be able to like just shrug off losing your signature part of the season, having to start over on what would be considered your least favorite surface, to win on your least favorite surface, and then win on probably what would have to be your second least favorite court in Cincinnati. I mean, like just really flipping those narratives on their head. So just in all, like a big mental hurdle, because I think we go back to that Swiatek 2022 season and perhaps the difference in fields then versus now. There was a lot of, what is Swiatek like when she's tested? What is she like when she faces adversity? There was a lot of talk of, you put a little pressure on her, she can fold. I think she really defeats that narrative once and for all this year for her to come into Wimbledon and play the way that she did. And now coming into, the WTA finals in position to, rack up a lot of points. And, she probably won't get number 1 this year. But again, 2026 starts in like a few days. So, she can really get to work on that campaign early next year, which I think was really played a part in a lot of what happened in the first 6 months. Not having the ability to compete for number 1 did play a number on her. So, just all in all, a story of resilience through adversity for Swiatek that she could really be proud of.
She didn't win a clay court title this year. And you mentioned it. The losses, Ostapenko, who still has her number. Goff, who you just can't believe how Goff has flipped that head-to-head of late. Collins, the old nemesis in Rome. And then to be down a first set as she was to Rybakina 6-1, you just felt like, oh my God, the floor has fallen out from underneath her. Now she wins that match, gets through Svitolina, goes 3 sets with Sabalenka, but loses that deciding set 6-love. And you're right, it was just like, she's mortal. She's vulnerable. What happens from here? And it is worth noting, like, The misfires this year were more prominent than they had ever been. The losses just looked uglier. Things completely malfunctioned. The first strike wasn't working, and she could never find a rhythm from there, never find a physicality to double down upon just to work her way into matches. But then you saw the way that renewed aggression in her game style paid dividends when it was at its best, not only in the numerous sets that went into the Iga Bakery this season, but just, again, what that Wimbledon run looked like, the front foot tennis she was able to play. And you said it perfectly, putting the fast court Iga narrative to bed as she did. Like, it also means there's next year's clay court season is just, this is someone we've seen win the treble. Like, what if she does that again? Spoiler alert, she'll be world number one once again. Like, the pathway is still very much for her there. And again, at 24 years old, if this is what the floor is going to look like for her prime moving forward, she still won a major title here this year. Now, by the crazy Iga standards, you can't ignore that first half. And questions that put to bed for now, like, still linger ever so slightly in the background. Also, it's just straight up, the field has gotten better. I probably go A- accordingly. Like, I'd go A+ Wimbledon onwards, but like C- for the front half of the year, sans Australia, where she was actually quietly good. You can't go lower than A. Like, it has to be in the A range because of that Wimbledon. And if she wins this tour finals, it's a firm A. But you can't ignore the front half, so I go A-.
Ooh.
We disagree.
Welcome, Iga fans.
Yeah, look.
I took a few months off, and now you're my favorite.
I gotta win you back. It's by the Iga standard. Like, that's what I can't emphasize enough. Like, the context of this season is in the context of Iga, not in the context of the rest of the field. Like,
that is the pitfall of dealing with these top players, is that you then ultimately compare them to their best year, and then you'll never be able to. And I think that's been a bit of an issue for Iga herself. Like, how can I compete when I'm not at this like godlike level? And she still found it. If you can find it at Wimbledon, who cares if you can't find it in Madrid? It just doesn't matter.
100%. It's also a double-edged sword because, of course, those standards are ridiculous to ask of any human. At the same time, it's a testament to who she is, that it's like, yeah, that's the standard. It's Iga freaking Swiatek. We know how good she can be. So I go A-. Wow, DK, the higher grade. Who'da thunk it? All right, next up.